Hi guys, I'm coming at you with another InkScape tutorial, this time regarding path operations. And if we look at the screen at the moment, this is available from my Redbubble site. It's designed to actually go on a coaster, and it's to be used as a tool to allow you to remember these different operations and what they do. So if we have a little look at this itself, if we look at the original, what we've got is what I call a cookie cutter object, which is coloured in on the left hand side here in pink, the circle, and our base object, which is a square, which is coloured in purple. And the topmost object is being used as a cookie cutter. So here you see the top object here is a square, and that's being cookie cutted into the base object, which is a circle. So for stuff like union operations, these will be combined together. So just to remember, the one on the left is the top one here, the one on the right is the bottom one. I should have put these above each other actually, I might change that. So this is a guide to help you actually figure out these operations and give your brain a head start on a Monday morning where you're a bit lethargic after the long weekend of drinking or whatever you decide to do with your spare time. So let's have a journey into path operations. So I'm going to start a new page. Here we go. So first things first, I'm going to place two objects on screen, and that stroke is huge. Wow. Let's bring this stroke down. There we go. So two objects on the screen. I'm going to go for a small square and a large square, and let's swap these colours around so they're similar to my example. So the first one is a union. So with union, it doesn't really matter what order these are in. So the larger square can be on top of the smaller square. The smaller square can be on top of the larger square. The only thing that it will affect is the color that's taken as the dominant color. So let me show you. So these two objects here, go to path, union. There, it's now being union together. It's a destructive operation, which means that your original object is removed and replaced with a new object. So this one we can actually edit the paths here. The nose of the paths. Let's undo that. And the dominant color was taken from the object that was the lowest in the order. So if I go back a couple there, you can see the dominant color was taken from the lowest object, which was our square with the purple. So if I send this object to the back, so lower that. So the pink is our lowest object there. Doesn't matter what order you select the squares in. Apply the operation, and now the pink one is used. So that's a union object. There's a union path operation there. That's union the objects together. Example of use would be if we was creating a keyhole. So if I have a circle and a rectangle there, place those together, select them both, and then add the union operation there. So there we've got a very simplistic keyhole there. So let's move on to our next operation. Our next one we're going to look at is the difference. So what actually happens with difference if I put two objects on screen? So this is our cookie cutter object. The difference will use the cookie cutter object and actually will bite a section out of the bottom object, and will remove the cookie cutter object and the section that is actually taken out of the bottom. So let's select both of those, path, difference. As you can see, that bottom bit has been removed. So the cookie cutter was occupied this space before, and it's been a chunk has been taken out of here and left the object behind. Let's bring that back in, and change the order. So now what should be left is this piece when we do the exclusion. So it doesn't matter which way you select, which way around you select them. Sorry, just when you do the difference. So difference, so you can see that is now left over. Okay, so applications for this. Well, thinking about one of the applications what we can use is if I create a circle. Let's get rid of this and colour that yellow. And if I hold down Control and create a square, so Control will restrict the sides to a ratio, will constrain sides to a ratio, so it's always 1 to 1, and then if we move over, it's 1 to 2, sorry, 1.6, 2 to 1, and you can see down the bottom the ratio, what's actually happening. So what I've done is created a square, and I'm going to click on the square twice, and pressing down the Control and to restrict the rotation, and rotate it for 45 degrees. Move it over to our circle, and I'm going to move it into the middle of the circle. Select both and go to Path, Difference, and there we created our Pac-Man. Now we're going to look at intersection. So we've got our two objects in front of us here. We've got the cookie cutter and the base object. The cookie cutter is at the topmost in our object stack. So if we select both of them and go to Path, Intersection, what will happen is that this section here will be removed from the base object, and both the cookie cutter and the base object will be removed, and that section will be left behind. As you can see, there's our section here. Now if I press Ctrl Z and go back, and what I've done is copied that original object into the intersected object into the clipboard. Here it is, and we'll place that over the top. We can see it fits perfectly into the section that's being covered by the cookie cutter. So that's the section that's been removed from the base object. If we do the reverse and bring a base object to the top, what will happen is the base object will be used as the cookie cutter, and whatever it's covering of the pink object, which is now our base object, just to confuse matters, whatever our cookie cutter is covering will be left behind. So this bit here will be left behind of the pink object. So we just do that. Intersection. And you can see what's been left behind. And here's our original. So you can see this bit will be placed, can be placed in here, and that's what's being covered by our cookie cutter. So that's intersection for you. Now with intersection, we can just trying to figure out an example that we can use for that. I can't think of any at the moment. Brain fart, moving on. Anyway, so the next one we got is exclusion. So let's look back at our reference. So with exclusion, it's quite an interesting one here. So I think the best idea is for me to actually just do this and explain as I go in. Let's go back. So we need two objects. I'm just going to use squares again. So our cookie cutter will be in pink and our base object will be in purple. And I'll bring cookie cutter object to the top and place it on top of our base object. So selecting both of those, again doesn't matter about the order, we're going to go to exclude. So as you can see, this is freestyled, so that was a lovely crash on my computer. So let's go back to our, I was looking at exclusion, weren't we? Yep. Okay, so we have our base object with this. Why is the stroke getting bigger? Oh. All I want to do is make a video. Right, okay, so we've got our base object. And we've got our cookie cutter object. And keep things consistent. Purple. And so let's copy that. So this is what we originally had. And gonna hit path, exclusion. So that's what I expect to see. So the actual cookie cutter has had the base object excluded from it, and it's now become part of that base object. So there you go. The good thing about that, we can actually remove or move that part away from the base object, but they're still both one object. There we go. So there we go. It's quite nice. So my example, for some reason, is wrong. Now why is that? So I might have to revisit this, because they obviously both end up like this. But that's exclusion for you. So I've got a bit of a job to do on the Redbubble there, just to change that. So our next one on the list, which hopefully is right, is probably division, actually. Yep, so division. Let's have a look at division. Quite a square and another square. I'll make that one pink. Right, so division. What will happen is that when we select the smaller object, the cookie cutter is sitting on top of the base, the larger object. We go path, division. Now, what's happened? It doesn't look like anything's happened. It just looks like we got our path is being drawn in the where whatever our cookie cutter was actually overlaid. But if we take that section away, you can see that they've been it's been chopped out. So we've now got two objects. And the good thing about this is that we can use this for something that's called like tessellations. So let's move that down here. So for example, because I've removed that bottom object from there, I can actually move this over here, and this object now will tessellate. So if I take a copy of this and place it on top, you can see that this will fit directly into this one and directly into this one. So we've done a basic mirrored, a basic thing called a transition tessellation there, where I've taken a piece of the object, moved it to the other side, and there created a sort of jigsaw puzzle tessellation, Escher style tessellation. I will go into tessellations in another video using this method. But for the time being, let's move on and take this shape and flip the order. Send the pink to the bottom, so now our purple one is the cookie cutter. So we take these, the two, and go to path, division. We can see that the bottom object has been divided into two from where the actual other object originated from. So here we go. There's our original object, and placed our result on top. You can see that it's been divided where it intersects our bottom object, and obviously these are both in two. Okay, so that's division for you. It's quite a nice one, quite a handy one. The next one on our list is combine and break apart. Okay, so with these, take both the objects. Let's take a copy of them. Bring the smaller object to the top and select them both. And go path, combine. You can see that the two objects have been combined together, but the stroke has been still maintained within here. And if we move the stroke, you can see that you can actually move this out as though they were two separate objects. So we've deformed the object now, and you can see the object is still one. I can't double click, and it hasn't grouped them or anything like that. It's just laid them on top of each other and combined them in that way. But if I move this out, so what I'm doing is actually moving part of the object into the other one, you can see it's leaving a void. And if I move that outside of that object, you can see that it's actually maintained the object, maintained the solid part of the object there. So we've left a void now just by moving the objects about. I haven't really got any applications for this. I can't really think of anything. No, don't know. Just playing now. Right, let's get rid of that. Yeah, not quite sure what the application for this would be. But again, if we take this one and change the order, so our base object is now our cookie cutter, and vice versa. And path, combine. You can see the dominant color has been taken from the topmost object. Excuse me. And again, combine, put those back in, path, combine. We can move these about. And as they cross, we can leave voids or solid, depending on where we've placed our node points. So there are some gotchas with some of these path operations that I would like to go into. If you create a circle, you would have noticed something if you was looking closely. If we zoom in, can we see this gap in? There's a gap here. There's a break in the path. So if I double click this, you can see this break here. Now, if I try to use this with something like let's try a division. So bring this up. and use a division. So what should happen with a division is that, if I remember rightly, we had two objects. Select both of them. Try to select both of them even. Path division. Where the objects intersect or lay over each other, then it should be basically cut out of there. So there we go. So I can move that section out. So what's happened here is that, well, I can't move this. It's because the object, all the paths on the object weren't closed. So that circle, it took me a while to figure this out because I didn't see the actual opening point of the circle, because when you make a circle, you can see that as you make it, it's a little tiny, you can see on the right hand side of the circle a little tiny space. You can see that if I push it up against the side of the circle, there's a little white space there that appears. There it is. So that little white space just there is a broken path, and with a broken path you can't do the division. The path ends up getting embedded inside the original object. So what you got to do if you want to do the division is zoom in, select the two paths, let's double click on there. Why isn't that selecting? Sorry. Let's go object to path. So we've got the two paths there, and now we can select the two, and using the join selected nodes, combine them as one. So now our paths have been closed. So we can now use this against, say, this object here, and go path division, and click off, go back on. We have now divided that out, that section out, and we can do what we want with it. Okay, so that's a gotcha that you might encounter and take some time to actually figure out what the hell's going on. Okay, so there's one operation that I haven't covered, and that is cut. So cut's an interesting one. The applications of cut, I am not 100% sure what to use it for. So we can take our two objects, one over the top of each other, and our cookie cutter object, when we hit cut path, there we go. So what's happened is where our cookie cutter object was sitting, it's actually cut the path around there. So it's cut that piece of path out. And if I change the colour of these, there we go. So we can see that those were once joined together. So those are the operations. I don't think I've got any others left. Oh, I didn't do break apart, which was the reverse of combine. So we can combine these two, or these three, path combine. So those are all combined together, and then path break apart. We can then actually remove those objects and place them back in the original state. Path combine, there we go, all one object, and path break apart. Okay, so that's the end of this tutorial on the path operations. Hope you enjoyed. Sorry about the crashes and the few problems we had with teaching that subject there, and enjoy experimenting with the object paths, the path operations, and yeah, comment, like the video, and tell me what you've been using them for. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye now.